Sagittarius, you're trapped in caregiving chaos. Break free with cosmic wisdom. Chapter 1: The Weight of Two Worlds. When freedom feels like a memory. There is a peculiar silence that lingers in the house after everyone else has gone to sleep. The clock ticks, the refrigerator hums softly, and in that stillness you sit, surrounded by the evidence of your devotion. The dishes are clean, the laundry folded, the to-do list mostly checked off. Yet beneath the surface of accomplishment lies a quiet emptiness. You look around and wonder, when did my life become a cycle of caring for everyone but myself? You once moved through the world with the fire of Sagittarius, guided by wonder, hungry for meaning, trusting the call of possibility. You dreamed of travel, of learning, of living a life that stretched beyond the edges of comfort. Your freedom was your compass, and your faith was the wind beneath your wings. But now your world has narrowed into rooms filled with responsibility. You tend to your aging parents with tenderness and to your children with patience. Yet somewhere between those two acts of love, you have misplaced yourself. This is the weight of two worlds, the invisible burden of the sandwich generation. It is a life suspended between generations, between the past you are caring for and the future you are nurturing. And though your love runs deep, it often feels like there is no space left for you. The philosopher, the seeker, the eternal wanderer within. You find yourself longing for solitude, for silence that isn't filled with worry, for a moment that belongs entirely to you. And when that longing arises, guilt follows like a shadow. How could someone so devoted even think about escape? But that longing isn't selfish. It is sacred. It is the call of your spirit reminding you that your soul, ruled by Jupiter, thrives in expansion. Sagittarius is a fire sign. Its vitality comes from exploration, inspiration, and vision. When the flame burns too long without oxygen, it dims. What you're feeling isn't failure. It's suffocation. And your soul, wise and wild, is whispering that it's time to breathe again. Astrologically, when Jupiter's energy feels blocked, life can seem small, repetitive, or drained of meaning. The universe does this not to punish but to pause you, to draw your awareness inward. When you can no longer expand outward through travel or new experiences, you are invited to expand within. The adventure now is emotional, not geographical. It's a pilgrimage into your own resilience, your hidden wisdom, your capacity to love without losing yourself. You may not realize it yet, but this contraction, this narrowing of your world, is the prelude to expansion. Just as Jupiter moves through cycles of growth and rest, so must you. You are not failing because you are tired. You are transforming because you are listening. The first step in reclaiming your freedom is acknowledgement. To admit that you are weary, that you are yearning, that you miss yourself, this is an act of truth. And truth for Sagittarius is liberation. Pretending to be endlessly strong serves no one. When you honor your limits, you become more compassionate, more human, more whole. So tonight, as the house rests in its quiet rhythm, take a breath that belongs only to you. Let it fill your lungs, then release slowly. Whisper the truth your heart has been holding. I am doing my best, but I am tired. Feel the relief in that confession. Feel the sacredness in being seen, even if only by yourself. You were never meant to hold two worlds entirely on your shoulders. Even Jupiter, mighty and vast, is sustained by an orchestra of moons that dance around it, each one reflecting light, sharing weight. You too deserve orbiting care, moments of rest, spaces of reflection, people who hold you as you hold others. Remember, naming your fatigue is not surrender. It is clarity. And clarity is the first spark of the freedom you seek. You are still the archer, steady, brave, and guided by truth. For now, your arrow does not need to pierce the horizon. It only needs to point inward, toward the quiet fire that still burns at the center of your being. That flame is waiting for you to tend it, not with guilt but with grace. Perhaps it begins with a single question whispered into the night. Where in my life have I mistaken responsibility for love? Chapter 2: Jupiter's Gift. Reframing caregiving as a spiritual pilgrimage. There comes a moment in every Sagittarius woman's journey when she begins to see that life's greatest adventures are not always the ones marked on a map. They are the inner pilgrimages, the quiet, often painful transformations that unfold in the heart when freedom meets responsibility. You may not be crossing oceans or climbing mountains now, but each day of caregiving, each moment of tending to another's needs, asks of you the same courage, patience, and faith you once carried into the wider world. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, wisdom, and truth. Jupiter teaches that meaning can be found anywhere the heart is willing to look deeply enough. It whispers that life's purpose is not discovered only in grand gestures, but in the simple act of living consciously. And so, perhaps caregiving is not a detour from your path, but a sacred road of its own, one that calls you to expand not across space, but within your spirit. When you tend to your mother's fragile hands or listen to your child's stories while half exhausted, you are engaging in a spiritual discipline as ancient as any pilgrimage. Every small act of love, when done with awareness, becomes a step on the path of awakening. Each moment of patience, each breath of surrender, is a prayer in motion. Jupiter's energy moves through these moments, asking you to see beyond the task and into its deeper meaning. To reframe caregiving through Jupiter's lens is to recognize that you are not simply fulfilling duties. You are embodying divine expansion. Service in its highest form is not submission. It is grace. It is the conscious choice to hold others with compassion while still honoring your own boundaries. When you remember this, caregiving becomes less about depletion and more about transformation. Imagine beginning your day with a small ritual. A candle lit on the kitchen counter. A whispered intention before the morning begins. May I serve with an open heart, but not an empty one. You might prepare breakfast or help a parent dress, but beneath those actions lies a quiet reverence. The mundane becomes meaningful. This is Jupiter's way, to turn ordinary life into sacred learning. One Sagittarius woman I once spoke with shared how she transformed her sense of overwhelm through ritual. She cared for her aging father while raising 2 teenage sons. At first, she felt trapped, as though her adventurous life had been stolen from her. But over time, she began to see caregiving as her temple. She scheduled her responsibilities like sacred hours. Morning devotion for her father's care, afternoon mentorship for her sons, evening walks under the sky for herself. Each became an offering. It's not freedom like before, she told me, but it's still expansion. I've learned to travel through the depths of my own heart. This is the essence of Jupiter's gift, the ability to turn suffering into wisdom, to see confinement as an invitation to inner spaciousness. When you shift from asking, "Why am I stuck here?" to "What is this teaching me?" you begin to walk the path of the awakened Sagittarius, the one who understands that every experience, no matter how heavy, is infused with purpose. And yet, reframing doesn't mean romanticizing. There will still be days when the exhaustion feels endless, when gratitude feels forced, and when you ache for silence. In those moments, Jupiter calls you not to deny your feelings, but to expand enough to hold them all. The love, the frustration, the grief, the longing. To be both caregiver and seeker. To love deeply and still yearn for freedom. That balance is not contradiction. It is maturity. Let your caregiving become your teacher. Let it stretch your compassion until it includes yourself. Let it reveal that expansion is not always about more, sometimes it is about enough. So when you feel trapped in routine, remember this truth. Every act of care, when done consciously, is an act of courage. Every small kindness ripples through the universe. Every exhausted sigh that still ends in love becomes a hymn to the divine. Your journey hasn't stopped, dear Sagittarius. It has simply shifted landscapes. The mountains you now climb are made of patience and faith. The oceans you cross are tides of emotion. And Jupiter, ever your guide, walks beside you, reminding you quietly. Through every act of care, you are expanding your heart's horizon. Chapter 3: Restoring Your Inner Fire. Boundaries, Rituals, and Micro-Freedoms. There is a fine line between devotion and depletion. Many Sagittarius women cross it quietly, without even noticing, until one day, the laughter that once came so easily feels distant, and the warmth that once filled every gesture begins to fade into numbness. You don't stop loving the people you care for. You simply lose the rhythm of loving yourself within the dance. This is the danger of being a Sagittarius with a generous heart. You give endlessly because you believe love should be boundless. You tell yourself, "They need me." And in doing so, forget that you need you too. But the truth, one Jupiter would never let you forget, is that your light can only guide others if it remains alive. To restore your inner fire is not indulgence. It is spiritual necessity. The first step is learning the sacred art of boundaries. For many caregivers, boundaries sound like guilt. as if saying no or stepping back means failing someone you love. But in truth, boundaries are bridges. They connect what you can give with what you can sustain. A boundary says, I honor you, but I also honor myself. It is the quiet declaration that you will no longer trade your vitality for approval or peace. Boundaries don't always look like dramatic refusals. Sometimes they are gentle choices, leaving a task for tomorrow without apology, asking for help without shame, or carving out a daily pocket of solitude and protecting it fiercely. Sagittarius, ruled by the expansive energy of Jupiter, needs space to breathe, to dream, to remember who she is beyond the roles she carries. Begin with a ritual that reawakens your fire. Each morning before tending to others, light a candle and place your hand over your heart. Take 3 slow breaths and whisper, "This flame is mine to keep." Feel its warmth, your energy, your essence, your joy alive within you. Let that simple act remind you that your spirit comes first, not last. Rituals are not luxuries, they are lifelines. They help you stay tethered to your truth when the world pulls you in every direction. Try taking a short walk every day, even if it's just around the block. Let your body move beneath the open sky, that sacred Sagittarian element of air and fire intertwined. Feel the wind brush your skin and imagine Jupiter expanding your lungs with each breath. The sky has always been your temple, and you do not need to travel far to pray. Perhaps you can also create micro-freedoms throughout your week, small bursts of independence that feed your soul. 10 minutes with a book that inspires you. A quiet cup of coffee on the porch before the house wakes. Listening to music that makes your spirit sway. These moments may seem small, but they accumulate into renewal. They are the whispers of your fire saying, I am still here. You can also harness the rhythm of Jupiter's cycles to guide your self-care. During Jupiter's transits, when the planet visits key points in your birth chart, life often feels expansive, but also demanding. This is when burnout can sneak in. Let those periods remind you to slow down intentionally. Schedule rest as though it were sacred ceremony. You are not resisting your destiny by resting. You are aligning with it. One Sagittarius caregiver once described to me how she reclaimed her vitality through tiny rituals of defiance, choosing joy even in moments of fatigue. She kept a notebook by her bedside and each night wrote one thing that made her spirit feel alive that day. It started with the smallest things, she said. A warm bath, a kind word, the smell of jasmine outside my window. But slowly it reminded me, my life is still mine. That is the power of small rituals and conscious boundaries. They do not erase the responsibilities, but they relight the flame within them. You begin to move from exhaustion to intention, from duty to devotion. As a Sagittarius, your freedom has always been your lifeblood. But now you are learning that freedom does not always mean movement. Sometimes it means presence, the ability to stay without disappearing, to serve without surrendering your essence. When you reclaim these micro-freedoms, you begin to remember your true rhythm, the sacred pulse of a woman who gives, but never empties, the one who nurtures others while still tending the wild, eternal flame in her own heart. So tonight, as you rest from another long day, place your hand over your chest and feel your heartbeat. Whisper softly like a prayer, I honor my flame by tending it gently, and let that truth be enough. Chapter 4: The Freedom of Surrender. Finding grace in support and community. There comes a point in every journey when strength no longer looks like endurance. It looks like surrender. For a Sagittarius woman, this lesson can be the hardest one of all. Because surrender feels like captivity, and asking for help feels like weakness. You were born under a sign that equates freedom with independence, that takes pride in carrying the load alone and finding meaning in self-reliance. Yet life, in its quiet wisdom, is teaching you that true freedom is not in doing everything yourself. It is in remembering that you were never meant to. The modern world praises the woman who manages it all, who is competent, reliable, self-sacrificing. But behind that illusion of strength lies a deeper truth. You are human, and your light dims when you carry too much alone. Sagittarius energy thrives on connection. Not the surface-level kind, but the kind that feeds the spirit. You grow through shared stories, through laughter that reminds you you're not the only one walking this path. You may resist this at first. You may think, no one can understand my situation, or it's easier if I just handle it. But isolation is not independence. It's armor. And even armor when worn too long becomes heavy. There is grace in admitting, I can't do this alone right now. There is beauty in letting someone else hold space for you. A friend who listens without judgment, a sibling who offers a night off, a community group that shares your load. The universe, through Jupiter's benevolence, keeps sending you reminders of this truth. Jupiter is the planet of wisdom and connection. It governs not only philosophy and learning, but the networks that expand our hearts. When you open yourself to others, you activate Jupiter's most healing frequency. The realization that expansion is not a solo act. It is collective. Growth multiplies when shared. Imagine what it might feel like to trust again, not in fate alone but in the hands reaching toward you. To say yes when someone offers to help. To sit in a circle of women, perhaps other caregivers like you, and hear echoes of your own story in their voices. The relief that comes from being seen is not small. It is holy. It softens the walls you've built, allowing light and breath to return. You may also find unexpected support in unconventional places. Sagittarius energy thrives in exploration. Perhaps your community isn't limited to family or neighbors, but includes online circles of women walking similar paths. You might discover a local meditation group, a caregiver support network, or a friend who simply shows up with tea and silence. These connections are not distractions, they are lifelines. They remind you that the universe works through people, that love in all its forms is still seeking you. Let this surrender be your act of courage, the kind of surrender that says, I trust life to hold me as I hold others. When you soften your grip, the world expands again. You begin to see that caregiving is not a solo burden, but a shared rhythm. A dance between giving and receiving. Sagittarius, at her most awakened, learns that freedom isn't the absence of ties. It's the presence of trust. The woman who once felt trapped now understands that support doesn't confine her. It strengthens her. She no longer fears asking for help, because she has learned that vulnerability is not the opposite of freedom. It is its foundation. To be open, to allow love in, to rest in the hands of others. This is the liberation Jupiter has been guiding you toward all along. One woman once told me, when I finally let my sister help me care for our mother, I cried the first night I didn't have to wake every few hours. I felt guilty at first. But the next morning when I sat under the sunrise with my coffee, I realized that rest is also devotion. Her words carry the essence of Jupiter. Wisdom through compassion, expansion through trust. You are not less powerful for needing others. You are more human, more real, more radiant. The stars have never asked you to carry everything alone. They have only asked you to keep your heart open enough to receive the love that has always been surrounding you. So breathe now deeply. Let the air remind you that you are supported, both by the earth beneath and the cosmos above. You are not falling apart. You are falling into grace. And as you surrender, whisper softly to yourself, I trust that I am always supported by both earth and stars. Conclusion: the return of the wanderer within. At last there is quiet. Not the heavy kind that follows exhaustion, but the sacred stillness that follows understanding. You have walked through fire and tenderness alike, Sagittarius. You have carried 2 generations in your arms and still found a way to keep your spirit alive. You have bent without breaking, loved without disappearing, and rediscovered your freedom not in distance but in depth. There was a time when you believed freedom meant movement, the open road, the shifting horizon, the endless chase for what's next. But this chapter of your life has revealed a different kind of liberation, one that blooms within presence. You are learning that the truest adventure is not out there waiting, but right here, in the ordinary sacredness of your daily life. The morning sunlight through the window, the laughter that erupts unexpectedly, the moments of stillness that whisper, you are home. Through Jupiter's guidance, you have come to see that expansion has many forms. Sometimes it looks like travel and discovery. Sometimes it looks like stillness and surrender. Your spirit has not been tamed, it has been refined. It now carries a wisdom that only lived experience can birth. The wisdom of knowing that you can be both the caretaker and the seeker, both the anchor and the arrow. The chaos that once felt suffocating has become your teacher. You have learned the rhythm of giving and receiving, the grace of asking for help, the art of tending your own fire while warming others. You have realized that self-care is not rebellion, it is devotion. It is how you honor the divine energy that chose to live this life through you. So when you feel the familiar ache of longing, that wild, untamed Sagittarius urge to run, remember that your spirit has already traveled far. You have crossed invisible landscapes within yourself. Learn to navigate the terrain of compassion, patience, and faith. You have returned home to the one place you were always meant to explore. Your own soul. Stand beneath the night sky for a moment. Look up at Jupiter glowing faintly above the horizon. Feel its vast, generous energy. The reminder that you are part of something boundless, something luminous, something eternally expanding. The same cosmic force that moves the stars also lives within you. It moves through every breath you take, every act of care you give, every truth you speak aloud. You are no longer trapped in caregiving chaos. You are transformed by it. Your heart, once stretched thin, now holds the fullness of love and freedom intertwined. You have discovered that the journey was never about escape. It was about awakening. And so, as this chapter closes, whisper these affirmations softly, like a prayer to your own spirit. I am both the caregiver and the wanderer. My freedom begins where my heart expands. Every act of love I give is a step on my soul's pilgrimage. I trust the universe to guide me, always back to myself. Let the night hold you now, gentle and vast. The road is still there, waiting, but this time it begins not beneath your feet, but within your heart.